God. I hope you're having a blessed day today. Let's get back into our next devotion here. I'm going to be in Psalms 121. Psalms 121. And this is probably will have a familiar sound to it, even though right off the bat, if you don't recognize Psalms 121, as I begin to read it, you probably will. It's a really wonderful psalm, and which all the psalms are wonderful. This one says, I will lift up my eyes unto the hills which cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from evil, and he shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Praise God. I want to go back here and focus for just a few moments here on verse number 4. He that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Now, I haven't done recently a devotion on this, but I wanted to go back and touch on it a little bit tonight. Now, or today, as I'm doing this, let's talk about this for just a moment. You know, there's you've seen, just like I've seen in the news, where there's been so much fighting going on in Israel. Of course, we know that on October 7th, Hamas attacked Israel. They came over, they took hostages, they killed approximately 1,200 people. They took a lot of people hostage as well. And Israel still has fighting against Hamas. They're still trying to get their hostages back, which have not been returned. I know a few of them was returned, but the majority of them are still there. And some people say, well, why don't they have a ceasefire and all this, just stop? This war could stop. Well, the war would probably stop if two things happen. If Hamas, number one, gave those hostages back, that would be the first thing, and Hamas would lay down their arms and their weapons. That would be the second thing, and said they would attack Israel no more or no longer, and change their charter from saying they wanted the annihilation of Israel and the genocide of the Jewish people. That would be a good starting point, and then you could have some work towards some type of peace agreement. But alas, that is not what's happened. They've not turned the hostages loose. They've not laid their arms down. And of course, they still hate the Jews. That's what started this whole thing to start with, a tremendous hatred for your neighbor. But as I read this, it says, he that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Now, recently, in going through all of this, Israel attacked in Syria an Iranian outpost, if you want to call it that, or building that had some Iranian generals in it, and some of their, I guess, important people in the military or so forth. And long story short, they killed some of them. The Israel killed some of these people because Iran is funding and giving weapons and funding to Hamas and to Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon, and they are funding these terrorists, and also the what they call the Houthis down toward Yemen, down in that area. Now, it's just, Iran is the main world sponsor of terrorism. Now, they're not the only ones that sponsor terrorism, but they sponsor it. And Iran doesn't want a head-on-head battle with Israel, and so they use their proxies to fight the battle for them. They don't want to fight per se, but they want to fight per se. And so they fund their terrorist buddies to fight. And I'm sure they probably send people to go there that want to go and join the fight with them as well. And so they fund them, and they, and so they help support and buy their weapons, and they help with their funding of their rockets and everything else and so forth. And Hamas has been notorious for taking funding from the world, and instead of using it to help their people, they use it to develop tunnels and to buy more weapons and to build more rockets so they can attack Israel, of course. Now, saying all of that, after Israel attacked and killed some of the officials of Iran, Iran swore that they would get revenge. So Iran did something they hadn't done and they don't normally do, and is they actually sent rockets and drones and attacked Israel. Now, I've got this little letter here. It's called the Levitt letter. Now, it's Zola Levitt's ministry. Now, Zola's been passed away, gosh, for going probably 18 or 20 years. But his ministry still goes on. And he was loved to watch Zola Levitt when he was on television. I really enjoyed his perspective and his perspective of history and the Jewish people, and just his knowledge of God's Word was just wonderful. And the Levitt letter, I still get this Levitt letter. I've been getting it for years and years. And it's so informative about what's going on in Israel and the surrounding countries. Articles and news items you'll never see in the mainstream media at all. They just will not cover it. But one they did cover was, when all these rockets were fired upon Israel. Well, Israel's defense system kicked in, and their defense system, plus not only their defense system, but the defenses of the United States and other Middle Eastern countries, which came to a surprise for a lot of people. Other countries joined in and helped shoot down these rockets and these drones and these cruise missiles. The article, they've got a good article on it right here. It's called God's Protection for Israel. And it goes over to the next page here, and it shows some of the rockets being fired, or the Iron Defense System, Iron Dome as they call it, being fired up to knock these rockets out. And it talks about all the different ones that were knocked out of the air and so forth. And it's a really great article. I'd love to sit here and read it all, but I don't have time. But if you do want to get the Levitt letter is free. All you have to do is request it. They have a website online, Zola Levitt. I think it's zolalevitt.com. And you can go to www.levitt.com. And all you got to do is ask, and they'll send you one of these. I do make a little donation. I make little donations along to them to support their ministry and help their ministry, because they send me this, and they also send me another letter as well. Very informative, and it really helps keep you up to date on things that are going on. Now, saying all of that, it's so interesting to see how the news cover these events and so forth, because the news, they do not cover it from a biblical perspective. Let's just put it like that. The secular news is not going to talk about God and Jesus and the Bible and things such as this. They're just not going to do it. You may get a few cable news sites or something that'll talk about it a little bit, but most of them, they're not going to speak of it, not going to talk about it. But and it was interesting. Now, this happened just a few days ago. I think it was on Sunday. On Sunday, a helicopter carrying the Iranian president, and I believe also the foreign minister, and there were some others as well, but those were the two main leaders, the president and I think the foreign minister. These two, their helicopter went down and crashed. There's been no reports that Israel or anybody like that done this or anything else. It was just a mechanical failure, and it went down, and it took out the president and the foreign minister. And the president, very vocal against Israel, of course. And of course, the president, even though he's the president of the country, does not run he does not, even though he's the president of Iran, and I may have said that wrong. Let me back up for just a moment. The helicopter crash was the president of Iran. It was not the president of Israel. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. I apologize. It was the president of Iran and the foreign minister of Iran that died in this helicopter crash. Now, it's interesting here, and this is something, like I said, the news is not going to cover, and they're not really going to talk about. But let me just say, and kick in here for just a moment and say this. And when you fight against Israel, you're not only fighting against them. And I'm not saying Israel's perfect. Lord knows Israel has got their problems, and they've got sinful things they do in their nation and so forth, and they've got problems just like the United States has got problems. But the little land of Israel's, God's got a prophetic destiny for that country and that nation. And his will is going to take place. And what his purpose is going to take place. And Iran and whoever else tries to join in with them, whoever would join on their side, is not going to stop that. Whether it be Russia or China or Turkey or Saudi Arabia or whatever other country might want to jump in and jump on board with Iran. But one thing about Iran is Iran scares the other Arab nations pretty bad. They don't like them. Iran makes other nations nervous, such as Jordan, such as Saudi Arabia, and so forth. There's many of these nations that are very nervous about Iran because Iran, they're just they sponsor all this terrorism, and they can cause a lot of trouble within these other Arab nations as well. So Iran is like the guy out there that the Muslim countries are like, you know what? If Israel took them out, it really wouldn't bother us. If Israel if Israel could take them out and change them and take away all their possibilities for nuclear weapons, it wouldn't bother us at all, because nobody really likes them a whole lot. They might get along on the surface to some degree, but they don't blend well. The Sunnis and the Shiite Muslims can be really at odds at times, and Iran has become like a bully in the area. And other countries, they look for Israel and say, hey, you know what? If you've got to have a fight with them, go at it. We're not going to bother you, not going to stop you. In fact, these other countries help shoot down some of these missiles that Iran shot, and which that was a shock to a lot of people that they jumped in and jumped on board and helped with this. Now, saying that, get back to the helicopter crash for just a moment. The president of Iran, the foreign minister of Iran, they died in this crash. I think it was the president. I know it was the president, and I believe it was the foreign minister. Now, when this happened, you say, well, it was just a mechanical failure, and those things happen, and so forth. And they do. We understand that. Helicopters can crash, planes can crash, and so forth. But when you fire 300 plus missiles into Israel, and thank God these did not get through, and they did not cause really light to moderate to no damage whatsoever. Just about all of them were, I think every one of them, but maybe one was shot down. They were just really, really done away with. Many of them were shot down before they even reached Israel's border. But when you perpetrate and go after Israel like this, all of a sudden, out of the blue, bam, the president of Iran is dead. The president, the foreign minister is dead. Two of the most vocal, outspoken, death to America, death to Israel champions, all of a sudden are dead. Israel, America, whatever, we didn't shoot down nothing or whatever, but they're dead. Friends, I want to tell you what, you better, I would tell this to the United States, and I would tell it to anybody around the world. When you put your finger on Israel and you say, we will destroy them, or we will do this, we'll take them out, we'll do this to them, we'll do this to them, you better be careful, because I want to tell you, he that watches and keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleep. And he does not have to have a rocket from Israel to do his bidding. He doesn't have to have any of that. And without firing a shot, the president of Iran and the foreign minister are gone. And I know somebody just as bad can take their place and so forth. But now I just believe that there's a divine hand of providence there somewhere that's working, that says, back up, don't touch, stay away. Yeah, and I want to tell you what. Now, I know there's going to be some really bad wars coming up in the tribulation period, and there's going to be a battle of Armageddon. There's going to be some terrible wars, and Israel's going to be pushed to the brink of extinction. But of course, we know Jesus Christ is going to prevent that. So I would just tell Iran, take heed to what you've done, take heed to what has happened, and without even firing a shot, your president and some of your main leaders have already died. If that is not an indication that maybe you need to back up, maybe you need to stop and ask yourself, maybe we need to back up. Iran needs to back up. But I got a feeling they're going to press forward, because I want to tell you, evil just knows no bounds and no ends. And I'm sure they'll keep pressing, and they'll keep pressing the issue with the United States, with Israel, and so forth. But I just wanted to point that out, that without firing a shot, the president of Iran and the foreign minister have died in a helicopter crash, and others, I guess their bodyguards and different ones that were with them, died as well in a remote area there in the mountainous regions or whatever. I just have that feeling that, and I just sense it, and I know that prophetically people would look at this and say, Pastor, this don't have nothing to do with prophecy. This was just a coincidence or whatever. Well, if you want to believe that, fine. I can believe what I believe. You can believe what you want to believe. But he that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleep. And Iran and the other enemies of Israel need to take heed to what just happened, because similar things could happen as well. And without, like I said, without even Israel firing a rocket or a shot or anything like that. So I would say, woe unto you that stick your finger in the eye of God, because he that touches Israel touches the eye of God. Be careful. I'm not trying to warn the enemies, or so to speak, but I'm just trying to maybe warn America a little bit here as well. We don't need to go against Israel. I'm not going to uphold Israel if they're doing evil or doing bad or something like that. No, I would definitely call them out if they're doing that, and I don't want to see any evil or bad things being done there. But I also don't want to see them destroyed either, because God's got his hand upon this little land and these little people. So let's take heed to this, and thank you for listening to this. I appreciate it. It was a little long. God bless you, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon. God bless you. Have a great day.